Chapter 132. The Preparations for the Hunt. 1. Carmen and Seal weren't the only ones who had suddenly returned to the Lionheart clan's main house. Led by their captain Carmen, the entire 3rd Division of the Black Lion Knights arrived at the house. Still, there are only 10 people in the division, Eugene thought as he scratched his head. Only the members of the Lionheart clan could become Black Lion Knights. That was why they had an overwhelmingly few number of knights compared to other elite orders. However, Eugene was also well aware that the power of a knightly order wasn't decided by the number of members. The party that had killed 3 demon kings only had 5 members, Hamel included. If you're talking about the best knights on the continent, 6 orders must be mentioned, Carmen said. The Blood Cross Knights of Uraz, the Violent Tide Knights of Shimuan, the White Dragon Knights of Kiel, the White Fang Knights of Ruhr, the Sand Scorpion Knights of Nahama, and us, the Black Lion Knights. These knightly orders had one thing in common. They worked for the royal families of their respective countries. The only exception was the Black Lion Knights of the Lionheart clan. Eugene couldn't grasp Carmen's intention in bringing up the story and stared at her blankly. Some boneheads say that the Black Lion Knights aren't as skilled as other knights who work for the royal family, but I don't think so. We may have fewer men, but the Black Lion Knights are the best, skill-wise. Carmen proudly finished her speech. Yeah, well. Would you like to join the strongest knights? I don't want to, Eugene answered with a disgusted face. He had already declined several times, but Carmen hadn't given up yet. I can't understand you. I can't understand you either, Lady Carmen. How many times do I have to say no before you give up? How many times do I have to offer before you accept? I am putting aside a lot of my pride when I make you this offer, you know? I am very aware how much you love the Lionheart clan and are proud of the Black Lion Knights, but I don't wish to devote my entire life to the clan as a Black Lion Knight. You are as stubborn as a mule. Carmen lifted her cup, frowning. At first glance she was drinking a cup of black coffee, but the coffee was mixed with many spoonfuls of sugar. She changed the subject. I am interested in your lightning flash. Eugene almost spat out his coffee. I heard your lightning flash is truly something else. Every time you use the skill, lightning stirs up. Who did you hear it from? When I asked the elves in the forest about you, they answered right away. Eugene's fists trembled from the humiliation. In all honesty, the name Lightning Flash wasn't that embarrassing to him. Compared to Azura Rampage or Poltergeist Aegis, there was a nice simplicity to it. However, he had become embarrassed about the name after Melkith had teased him. Her teasing had made him regret putting a name on his skill. He felt like he shouldn't have named it in the first place. However, he couldn't really change the name now because it felt like Melkith played him if he did so. In the end, it was a matter of pride for him. I have a similar skill. Its name is Lightning Strike, Carmen said in a serious tone. They both have lightning in the name. Why don't we compete with each other and see whose lightning is better? I'll decline. Eugene had heard about Carmen's lightning strike from Genos before. Lord Carmen's ultimate attack is called the Destiny Breaker. Her Iron Fist combo is a combination that starts with Eclipse, then uses Emperor Blow and Lightning Strike before finishing with Destiny Breaker. It has a reputation for being particularly fierce and powerful, even among the Knights of the Black Lion. He didn't know what kind of skill Lightning Strike was, and also had no idea what the rest of the skills were. Iron Fist, Eclipse, Emperor Blow and Destiny Breaker. He was curious, but he didn't want to compete with her right now. I am pretty sure you aren't visiting here to talk about such stuff. The 3rd Division's visit was too abrupt. From what Eugene had heard, they had just notified the main house's servants to activate the warp gate an hour ago and used it right away. That was one of my reasons, but I have 2 primary reasons. 2 primary reasons? One is to protect the people of the main house. Carmen sipped on her sweet black coffee. The elders of the Black Lion Castle aren't planning to find fault with you for bringing the elves without authorization. I only found out about it a bit late. That you asked the council head himself for permission to visit Samar with Auxiliary Bishop Christina. When the head of the Council of Elders was mentioned, Eugene's face turned serious. The Lionheart clan's ancestor is the Great Vermouth, so this family is also Wise Sienna's sworn friend even after 300 years, and it will be so even 3,000 years from now. If Wise Sienna has requested to protect the elves, we will do so, of course. Sworn friend, huh? Eugene thought after listening to Carmen. With much difficulty, Eugene stopped his lips from scornfully twisting. Vermouth was the one who put a giant hole in Sienna's chest, his sworn friend. Besides, the elves had been persecuted for hundreds of years. With that said, he knew that Carmen couldn't be blamed. Elves were an entire race and 300 years was a long time. I personally think it would be better to move them to the Uklas Mountains, rather than the main house's forest, but the elves said they will stay in the forest here when I ask them. It seems like they really love this forest, Eugene calmly answered. You changed the forest to suit their taste. I lived in the main house a long time ago, but the forest at the time was nothing like the one I saw just now. Carmen pulled out her cigar case, chuckling. I'm not planning on prying on the cause of the change. I am also elated about the change in the forest. This business trip is going to be a great chance for me to cultivate myself. Will you also be protecting the main estate? I hope no incident occurs where I have to protect someone if possible, Carmen answered, crossing her legs. After cutting off the tip of her cigar, she closed her eyes and enjoyed the smell as she put it close to her nose. Eugene witnessed Carmen frowning at that moment. The cigar must be musty. Do you know about the Rakshasa princess? She asked after getting sidetracked by the musty cigar. I have heard about her in Arath. Specifically, about how she might visit the Lionheart's main house to negotiate. Then I can cut to the chase. Although it's given, the Lionheart clan has no intention to negotiate with her. Carmen bit the cigar. Still, we can't slam the gate on her face. If she does visit, we are going to greet her. Do you think the people in the main house can't handle Rakshasa princess? No way. We have the White Lion Knights in this place. They might not be as good as Black Lions, but they are also elite knights. Carmen stopped talking for a moment. However, we don't have the Patriarch or the First Division of the White Lion Knights, the best elites. That is why I came. I'm curious as to why the Patriarch didn't return to the house in a situation like this. He is at the palace now. Pardon? Eugene asked instantly. This was his first time hearing about this. When Eugene looked shocked, Carmen continued, chewing on the unlit cigar. He went to the palace 15 days ago. Of course, he's not there to attend parties or something. He is there to have a talk with the emperor. For 15 days? The demon king of incarceration had been silent for a whole 300 years, but now he is warning us. 15 days are far from enough to have a proper discussion. Indeed, he hadn't been just killing time. Anyway, the second reason is to deliver the chief's message. What's the message? It'll be hunting season soon for the Black Lions. Hunting season? He had never heard about this. When Eugene tilted his head in confusion, Carmen continued explaining. Black Lion's hunting season is in spring around the new year. Of course, we aren't hunting animals. Black Lions hunt demonic beasts and monsters that are roaming around in the Uklas Mountains. The early coming-of-age ceremony that you and Cyan experienced was designed to avoid demonic beast nests on purpose. We had to, since those nests are too dangerous for children who haven't even become adults yet. Without saying anything, Eugene stared at Cameron. She could feel what he wanted to say. She put down her cigar, quietly chuckling. Although I'm pretty sure it doesn't apply to you. Eugene cleared his throat. You surely have a strong pride in yourself, kiddo. I'm not a kid. You do have a point. The coming-of-age ceremony is already over. So what does Black Lion's hunting season have to do with me? A lion pushes its cubs off a cliff. Carmen spoke in a serious tone, not chuckling anymore. With a solemn face, she crossed her arms since she didn't want to bite onto her bitter cigar, and she stared at Eugene. Do you know what that means? The story of a lion pushing its cubs off a cliff is a groundless rumor. What kind of animals throw their cubs off a cliff? That means, beasts, put their children through trials and tribulations, to raise them as predators. Lions do not push their cubs off a cliff? Really? Carmen's thoughts fell into chaos. As she had spent her entire life believing that story, her eyes lost focus for a moment. However, she didn't ask Eugene about the story in detail, since she had to preserve some face. Anyway, the point is that the Demon King of Incarceration delivered a warning, and we are the Lionheart clan, the most prestigious warrior family on the continent and the descendants of the Great Vermouth. We don't know the future ahead of us, but we have to make the necessary preparations so we can live up to our bloodline. Aha. Eugene chuckled as he nodded. Since he had heard this much, how could he not know what Carmen was trying to say? So you are saying you will make me participate in the hunting season because the young lion needs training, huh? like a lion pushing its cub off a cliff. So what if the story was a groundless rumor? Carmen liked the story. No matter what the reality was, the lions in Carmen's mind pushed their cub off a cliff. They had to. Is it mandatory? Eugene asked. We are not forcing anyone. If you wish to become a real lion, you are going to willingly participate. Yeah, then I'm not gonna go, Eugene instantly answered and stood up. However, Carmen urgently reached out and grabbed his wrist. It's optional for everyone else. Not for you. Why is it different when it comes to me? To be honest, I think I am already a great lion without getting pushed off a cliff. All the more reason for you to do it. You have to set an example for the other lions. Let's stop beating around the bush and be honest, shall we? It seems many collateral descendants will participate in the hunt. You are hoping I will maintain the main house's dignity and become a source of motivation to the collateral descendants, aren't you? Carmen didn't answer Eugene and just scowled at him instead with a dissatisfied look on her face. I am curious about one thing though. Is it you or the chief who wants me to participate? I have been asked to persuade you to participate, Carmen answered bitterly. Figuring out that his guess was correct, Eugene smiled and sat back in his seat. I did expect him to contact me soon, but was this his way of contacting me? He wasn't certain, but he had a suspicion that it was the council head who had ordered Barong to kill him. If Doins was really the villain behind all this, he would try to contact Eugene, who had returned alive and in one piece in one way or another. Ukla's mountains are large, and on top of that it's a demonic beast nest. Anything can happen in such a place, assassinating me perhaps? Eugene smirked internally. Well, it does sound interesting. I would like to hear more about it. Only the young lions who had participated in the bloodline continuation ceremony 7 and 17 years ago could attend the hunt. The bloodline continuation ceremony 17 years ago had taken place without any children from the main house. Some of the people who distinguished themselves at the time joined the Black Lions Knightage. However, there are two people I wanted as my subordinates, to be honest. And those are. One is Genya Lionheart, Sir Genos' daughter. He never heard her name, but he knew that Genos had a daughter. If his memory served him correctly, she was 27 years old now. Genya has been in Shimuan to cultivate, but she is returning to take part in this hunt. The other person is Hector Lionheart, Carmen said. Oh. Eugene had heard about him. Gerhard had talked about him several times before Eugene had to participate in the bloodline continuation ceremony a long time ago. It seems you have heard about him. Yes, I have. You must have, since Hector was considered the best among the collateral descendants of the Lionheart clan before you showed up. When Hector participated in the bloodline continuation ceremony 17 years ago, he had been 13 years old, just like Eugene when he took part in the ceremony. That must have made Gerhard talk about Hector. The bloodline continuation ceremony is a tradition that's unfair and bothersome in many ways. Carmen calmly made an unconventional comment. Still, we can't abolish the tradition. Such is the nature of traditions. It's old and boring, but we can't abolish it since we have carried it out for 300 years, Carmen continued as she tapped on the table. The bloodline continuation ceremony takes place every 10 years. Only the children from 10 to 15 can participate in the ceremony, so the Lionheart clan have to time their births. Besides, unlike the descendants in the main house, the collateral descendants participate in the ceremony without any knowledge of how to use mana or wield real swords. The restrictions were only given to the collateral descendants. That was why the ceremony 17 years ago had been fair. Without the children from the main house who were given a head start, only the collateral descendants competed against each other. Hector's family was quite ordinary among the collateral families, and the ceremony 17 years ago was about wandering in the forest for 10 days. The frontrunner was Genya Lionheart. Unlike the other children who were exhausted after enduring the days in the forest, those two spent the 10 days very well, Carmen reminisced. They competed on the last day, right? Yes, Genya challenged Hector, wishing for the glory of victory. However, Hector won an overwhelming victory in that fight. Genos's family was a special one, even among the Lionheart clan. They were the first Black Lions and Lionheart hounds who had been taught the Hamel style by the great Vermouth himself. That meant the family was just as prestigious as the main house, despite it being a collateral family. And the spirit of this warrior family had also been passed down to Genya, who was only 10 at the time. Even though she wasn't able to use mana and had never used a real sword, Genya's power wasn't that of an ordinary child. Still, she had lost the fight. Although Hector also couldn't use mana and hadn't wielded a real sword, just like Genya, he had won the fight in the first place in the ceremony. Just like Genya cultivated in Shimuan, Hector has been cultivating in Lure and he is taking part in this hunt. So what do you think? Don't you want to change your mind and participate? Carmen excitedly spoke. Not really. Don't you want to compete with him? Hector was called a genius among the collateral descendants before you showed up. Then the outcome is already decided. If I was weaker than Hector, he would still have the title of a genius, Eugene answered, snorting. If he was better than me, Hector would have been the one who got adopted instead of me. Haha. Carmen absent-mindedly blinked for a moment, but then broke into laughter. That is some cool arrogance. Yes, you are right. Is there anyone else who is participating other than those two? Eugene asked. Out of those who have gone through the same bloodline continuation ceremony as you, there are Garjeth and Desra Lionheart. Of course, the twins from the main house will also participate. Seal is also participating? Then why did she come to the main house when she was going to participate anyway? She insisted on following me no matter what. Isn't there only one reason? She must have wanted to see her mother for the first time in a long time. In fact, Seal wasn't with them right now. Instead, she was spending time with Ancilla and Mare. And there are two more. Carmen hesitated for a moment. Eugene read perplexity from her eyes, so he asked, 2 more? The bloodline continuation ceremony 7 years ago came to Eugene's mind. Cyan, Seal, Garjeth and Desra had participated. There were also some losers, but they weren't worthy enough for him to remember their names. Had one of those losers trained themselves over the last 7 years and volunteered to join the hunt in the Black Lion Castle? Deacon Lionheart. It seemed that he had been at the same bloodline continuation ceremony as Eugene, but he wasn't so memorable. Why had she hesitated to say the name of a nobody? And Uad Lionheart are participating. Eugene's jaw dropped. Chapter 133. The Preparations for the Hunt, 2. There was a saying about how a stone that gathers moss will be knocked out of its place by a rolling one, but this had never applied to the 20-year-old Seal Lionheart. After all, she was a noble lady of the prestigious Lionheart family. When she was 13, Eugene was adopted, but he didn't drive anyone out. And of course, Seal herself wasn't the kind of stone to be displaced just like that. She was born to be loved by the members of the main house. Cyan felt threatened by Eugene, but to the young Seal, her brother looked ridiculous. She had been cute and lovely since she was born, and she knew how to efficiently use the weapons she was born with. Her stupid, slow brother didn't have that kind of ability, so he was often harshly scolded by their mother. Meanwhile, Seal did not get scolded at all. She knew what kinds of actions would result in a scolding, and when she had to do something that warranted it, she knew how to avoid getting scolded. That didn't change even after she grew up. Moreover, she also began to work hard in areas that she hadn't worked on when she was a child. Seal had no intention of becoming a pretty, cute flower. The Lionheart clan was a prestigious warrior clan, and in order to be recognized by them, a cute and lovely smile wasn't enough. She needed proper skills to become a real Lionheart. Thus, she grabbed a sword and started to swing it. Seeing that she did it all on her own, her parents loved her even when she wasn't acting cute in the slightest, while the knights of the main family all made time to help her train. I wasn't wrong. Seal gritted her teeth. Ever since she was little, she had been quick-witted. She was aware of how her mother secretly desired a cute, lovely daughter. She also knew that her mother wanted to spend time like an ordinary noble mother and daughter, holding teacups instead of swords and wearing cute dresses rather than ceremonial or martial art suits. She knew it, but she didn't fulfill it. It wasn't that she was ignoring her mother's wish, but that she knew that such yearning was impulsive and fleeting. Ancilla, the mother she knew, wanted a strong and beautiful lion who could live up to the Lionheart's name, not a flower. I wasn't wrong, but this is unfair. Seal's fists trembled in anger as she looked forward. She could see a 10-year-old girl sitting on Ancilla's lap. When she was that girl's age, she also used to sit on Ancilla's lap, but after she had gone through the bloodline continuation ceremony, she had stopped doing that. Completing the ceremony meant that she was recognized as a Lionheart. From that moment forward, she had to give up childhood and become a young lion. It was Ancilla who taught her that. That's my seat. Until a few years ago, it really had been. Proper protocol had stopped her from sitting there, but she knew that she could do it whenever she desired to. In the Lionheart family, Ancilla's lap was only for Seal. At least that was what Seal had thought. But now, some girl had taken her spot. The way Ancilla looked at Mare made Seal more shocked. Her eyes were filled with love and joy as if they were looking at her young daughter. I can understand. Mother must have been lonely. But still, how could she look at the girl like that when her own daughter was right here? For the first time in a long time, Seal felt jealous. She immediately wanted to shove the girl away and sit on Ancilla's lap instead. Isn't she cute? There was no way Ancilla could have felt Seal's simmering rage, but she spoke with impeccable timing. She reminds me of you when you were little, Seal. Wasn't I cuter? Seal asked as she stared at the girl, smiling. Her way of speaking was quite provocative. Today is the first time for me to meet you, but I heard so many stories about you from Lady Ancilla, Lady Seal, Mare answered as she nibbled on a cookie. She told me she has a very beautiful daughter who looks just like her. Oh my Mare. Don't tell her that, you are making me blush. But it's the truth. Lady Seal is really beautiful. Mare beamed, putting down the cookie she was munching on. To Seal, Mare's smile felt like a strong punch in her chest. She unconsciously took deep breaths and tucked her chin. I can see why Mother is fascinated by her, Seal bitterly thought. As she grew older by each year, one thing she had to give up on was her innocence as a child. The girl before Seal had the innocence that Seal had long given up. Most importantly, she wasn't a Lionheart. She had no ambition to become a lion instead of a flower. That was why she could stir up Ancilla's maternal love in such an innocent manner. Just like Ancilla wished, Mare wore pretty clothes and ate sweets without minding how they would affect her body. Those were all the things Seal had refrained from enjoying. What am I doing? I am being jealous of a child. She sipped on her tea, belatedly calming herself. Huh. Seal realized something a moment later. Wasn't I cuter? A while ago, Seal had provoked her, but Mare hadn't played into her provocation. She had said Seal was beautiful, not cute. Being cute was different from being beautiful, they couldn't compete. The word beautiful did not suit a 10-year-old girl. No way. After coming to the conclusion that she was overthinking, Seal put down her teacup, maintaining her smile. Mare, who was sitting across from her, picked up a new cookie and put it in Ancilla's mouth. That's not possible. No, she wasn't wrong. It was just for a moment, but Seal and Mare's eyes met. When Seal saw Mare smiling at her, she realized Mare was just as sly as her. Seal Lionheart was 20, so she wasn't a girl anymore. That was why she had lost to a girl. It wasn't even a competition. She didn't want to admit her defeat. Therefore she sprang up from her seat and sat beside Ancilla. Naturally linking her arms with Ancilla's, Seal leaned against Ancilla's shoulder. I missed you, Mother, she said with puppy eyes. Oh my. Lady Ancilla, try this too. It's so delicious. Mare offered. Wow. Wow, Ancilla exclaimed, trembling with overwhelming excitement. She felt that being a mother was the most fulfilling thing. You are pretty good, Seal said with an impressed look on her face. After the tea party was over, she left the room with Mare. I didn't expect you to charm my mother that well just over a couple of days. I didn't charm anyone. Mare smiled, looking up at Seal. It's just that Lady Ancilla adores me. Mare spent hundreds of years in Akron. The only visitors she received were old, boring wizards, and they just treated her as a well-made familiar, not a cute little girl although she looked like one. Therefore she never had the chance to consider herself cute. However, she had all the chances in the world after leaving Akron. The outside was full of wonders that she had yet to encounter. So you were made hundreds of years ago, although you look like a child. But my mind isn't that old. My personality is fixed as the childhood personality of Lady Sienna, the Wise. What does that have to do with anything? Your mind ages after hundreds of years even if you were built that way. I didn't age voluntarily. Besides, isn't someone's mental age decided by their experience and physical age in the first place? I have existed for hundreds of years, but I have not experienced as much as you. And of course my body didn't age either. I also haven't experienced much, you know? Seal said with a snort. Why are you guys fighting? Eugene interrupted them as he entered the hallway. He had just left the room after finishing his discussion with Carmen. He tilted his head in confusion as he watched Seal and Mare standing on guard against each other in the middle of the hallway. Sir Eugene. Mare called out Eugene's name. As if she had been waiting for him to come, she ran to Eugene, smiling. As Seal watched Mare hopping and clinging to Eugene, she felt jealous in a complicated way. Fight? What fight? What reason do I have to fight with a kid? She strode and stopped in front of Eugene. After looking at Mare derisively, she naturally stood beside Eugene. In an equal spot as Eugene, she met his eyes and furtively linked her arms with Eugene. You are gonna go to the Black Lion Castle, right? What is up with you? Has your arm gotten more muscular? Are you still doing that brainlessly hard self-cultivation? She looked at Eugene, no Mare, as she smiled with her eyes. And once again she realized it. Mare wasn't jealous of Seal in any way. Mare was a little girl. Unlike Seal, she wasn't conscious of Eugene. She felt so embarrassed after realizing that. Linking her arms with Eugene was nothing to be embarrassed about, but she felt like she was being played by that little kid. Ahem. Seal cleared her throat. After releasing Eugene's arm, she took a step back. There is no need for you to drag your feet, is there? Considering your temper, you wouldn't have refused. By the way, was the trip with Auxiliary Bishop Christina fun? He casually asked. You could call it that. Really? It was fun to wander around some rugged backwoods, just the two of you? Pray tell, how was that fun? Seal squinted as she stared at Eugene. Samar Rainforest doesn't even have a village, let alone a city, right? Just trees and dirt everywhere. How did you sleep? Of course you must have camped outside. No way. Did you use the same tent as her? Stop fucking around. Eugene lightly pushed Seal's forehead as she was retorting. Besides, why are you prying, Seal? I'm your sister, so I have a duty to know about my brother's flighty rule-breaking. The corner of Seal's mouth twitched. On the other hand, Eugene's face crumpled up. You haven't become a flighty rule-breaker by any chance, have you? I'm sorry. I was wrong, so don't say that. Eugene stuttered. W.I. You are the one who taught me this disgusting wordplay. That is why I am sorry, Eugene grumbled and turned away. Seal followed Eugene as he hurriedly walked away as if he was running away. Where are you going? Are you going to the warp gate? Won't the hunt begin in 15 days? Why would I go already? So you are going, huh? Yeah. The council head could try to assassinate Eugene. If he considered that risk, it was better for him to not go and coop himself up in the main house instead. However, he would never find out the truth if he did that. Besides, there is Genos, Eugene thought. The Black Lion Knights were also participating in the hunt. The Council of Elders could not be trusted, but Genos could be trusted. Since you are here now, relax and spend some days with Lady Ancilla. I heard you left right away after you were done with your business last time. As he was complaining, Eugene looked at the strangely shaped sword hanging on Seal's waist. The sword was Vermouth's weapon, Phantom Rain's sword Javel. Eugene secretly wanted it but couldn't get his hands on it. Isn't this cool? Seal asked since she could feel Eugene looking at Javel. Beaming, she tapped on Javel's handle. I can't handle it properly yet, but I got pretty used to it. That sword is hard to handle in the first place. How do you know that? Ahem. I can tell from its look. The shape alone looks like a pain in the ass. Javel was technically a sword, but it was actually more like a whip. When Seal swung the sword, it broke into hundreds of pieces that sprayed her opponents with an overwhelming wave of death. How is Cyan? He is fine, though he looks tired. Cyan hadn't returned from the Black Lion Castle. He's getting trained by the captains every day. Even today he was being harassed by Sir Genos. Oh, he told me to deliver a message. Seal recalled. What did he say? He says he's going to kill you if you don't participate in the hunt. He can't kill me even if he tries to. He's just saying that. Seal giggled and glued herself to Eugene. Mare, who was clinging to Eugene's arm, wriggled and climbed into Eugene's cloak. What is she doing? She scowled, unable to understand what Mare was doing. A moment later, Mare completely disappeared inside the cloak. Seal lifted Eugene's cloak in shock. Where did she trailed off. I'm here, Mare answered, only sticking her head out of the cloak. Would you like to come in, Lady Seal? She can't go in there, Eugene commented. It's really comfy here. Mare cheekily smiled. Seal frowned and put the cloak over Mare's head. You heard about Ued coming to the hunt, right? Seal's face turned serious. I see he somehow managed to get permission. Eugene smiled bitterly. He didn't even get to have a coming-of-age ceremony. The patriarch had one hell of a time persuading people, she answered with a sigh. Yuet has been cooped up in the house of Lady Tannis' parents for 3 years already. The patriarch thinks Yuet did enough self-reflection and couldn't leave his first son like that. It's funny because he's being so obvious. Yeah, I think so too. Cyan also thinks the same. The next patriarch was Cyan. Yuet could conclude his introspection and return to the Lionheart clan. However, the patriarch's successor would never change. Yuet's right of succession was forfeited. Many collateral descendants also participate in the hunt. The elders want to make it clear who the next patriarch is. Something along the lines of, although he did something so crazy that his rights to become a patriarch got forfeited, Yuet has more legitimacy as an heir. It seems that he has been practicing magic even after he was sent away to think about his problems. But, you know how he is better than anyone else, right? He can bust his ass all he wants for 3 years, but he won't be able to beat Cyan, Eugene answered without any hesitation. Of course he won't. You are an adopted son and your ability is well known. But not Yuet. He is the first son and his ability is unknown. That's why Cyan needs to prove to them that Yuet is an overwhelmingly worse candidate than Cyan. Yuet was the one who said he will participate in the hunt. You don't seriously think Yuet really wanted to do that, do you? He is so timid. Lady Tannis must have forced him. Eugene also agreed with Seal. 7 years ago he had met Yuet for the first time. The 15-year-old Yuet was weak. He was a boy who had fallen deeply in love with magic. His eyes used to twinkle as he watched Lovelian use magic. 3 years ago, Eugene had seen how pathetic Yuet was in Aratha's Bolero Street. He was 19 at the time, 2 years older than Eugene. Although I think 3 years is enough to change a person, Eugene shook his head, clucking. Yuet isn't someone who will change and his surroundings don't help him one bit. Lady Tannis is overzealous, Seal said bitterly. Yes, for Yuet to really change he has to get out from behind Lady Tannis' skirt. But he couldn't, could he? On top of all that, Yuet has been controlled by Tannis in her parents' house for 3 years. Tannis' ferocious look came to Seal's mind and it made her shudder. Horrible. If Ancilla hadn't witnessed what happened to Yuet, she might have had become the same kind of mother as Tannis. But where are you going? Seal asked as she saw Eugene turning away. Forest. Why? It's time for me to train, Eugene answered casually. Seal's mouth fell open. Are you not going to play with me? We can play while we train. Shaking her head in disbelief, she followed Eugene. You don't have to worry too much. His mother was full of love. I decided on my own. Yes, I know. They won't like me. He understood that it was natural for a mother to love her son. The son was pathetic but the mother loved him still. That gives me more reason to prove myself. Beaming, Yuet put down his tableware. His mother, Tannis, was tenderly smiling as she was sitting across from him. Yuet liked his mother's tender smile. At some point in his childhood his mother had stopped smiling like that. She always watched him with a dissatisfied look. Instead of smiling, the corner of her mouth twitched in anger. She didn't whisper any praise or loving words to her son. Instead she kept talking about a future her son never wanted and scolding him for not being up to standard. Everything happened because Yuet was incompetent and did something wrong. After realizing that, everything had become simple. If he changed himself of his own volition he could easily change the way his mother looked at him. You are going to do well in the hunt. Listening to his mother, Yuet nodded. You are my son. My lovely son, Yuet. You are the first son in the Lionheart family. Yes, I'm your son, mother. You aren't able to become a patriarch, but you are still my son. Yes, you are right. That's a given from the start. I'm sorry, mother. If I hadn't made any mistakes, I would have become a patriarch, just like you wanted me to be. Yuet, please don't call that a mistake. It's all my fault that you ended up doing something like that. If I had loved you more and tried to understand you more. I'm fine. Yuet shook his head, smiling. Your scolding made me who I am today. Thank you so much, for putting it that way. You didn't treat me like that because you hated me. Your every action was out of love for me, too much love. You will do well. Yes, I will. You are a great child, Yuet. Edward could feel his mother's love from her words. Keeping his bright smile on his face, he stood up. Warm, beautiful sunlight from outside the window warmed up the table. He smiled at the chirping birds outside. Today was a good day. I will get going now, Yuet said as he drew the curtain. Although he liked sunlight, his mother didn't. Don't see me off. Are you sure you don't need me to come with you? Yes, of course. Please stay here and cheer for me. My love will be with you. When he exited after leaving the dining table, he could see servants standing in the hallway. Isn't today the day, Master Yuad? You will do well, Master Yuad. Passing the cheering servants, he exited the mansion alone. His grandfather, Count Basar, was standing outside. Oh, Yuad, are you going now? Count Basar asked. Grandfather, you didn't have to see me off. Ha! How could I not? My lovely grandson is finally going back to the world. Although Yuad looked embarrassed, he approached Count Basar and hugged him. Thank you, grandfather. What does it matter even if you don't become a patriarch of the Lion Hearts? What matters is what you want to do, Yuad. I completely respect your decision. Thank you so much, so much. After leaving his grandfather's arms, Yuad stood in front of the closed gate. He stared at it for a moment and turned back. Even though he had told her not to see him off, his mother was standing beside his grandfather, smiling at Yuad. Dozens of servants working in the mansion had stopped what they were doing and came out to cheer for Yuad. See you later, Yuad said as he wiped away his tears, feeling touched. Chapter 134. The Preparation for the Hunt, 3. They are not going to randomly drop us from the sky again, are they? Eugene couldn't stop his mouth from blurting out this thought. Unlikely. Seal shook her head while straightening up the collar of her uniform. If you were going alone, maybe, but you are coming with me. They won't just drop us from the sky. What do you have to do with anything? Do you have any idea how much the knights and the elders in the Black Lion Castle adore me? Seal proudly puffed out her chest and bragged. While doing so, she glanced at Mare, who was only sticking out her face from the cloak. A cunning familiar indeed. Seal grumbled in her thought. It had been a week since she had come back to the main house, and Seal could feel how much things had changed after she had left the main house for good. Previously, the servants and the knights used to call Seal my lady, and put her on a pedestal, but now Mare was the one treated that way instead. I know it can't be helped. She thought that it was inevitable since she had left the main house for good a long time ago. If she were to be honest, she was also aware of how unreasonable it was to wish that everyone treated her the same way as they did when she was young. He was an adult now. Do you need to follow him? Signard asked from behind. Of course, he was asking Mare, who was inside Eugene's cloak. Signard remembered Sienna's childhood, which made him hold Mare very, very dear. She was the same as Sienna when she was a child, just like Signard remembered. Regardless of how he cherished Mare, Signard wasn't good at expressing himself. He couldn't openly dote on her, much less hug her like Ancilla did. Instead, he sometimes came up to Mare and handed her a couple of flowers when she walked across the forest. They were the flowers that Sienna liked since she was a child. Although the flowers weren't supposed to bloom in this kind of weather, they beautifully blossomed in the forest protected by the World Tree. Thank you. Whenever she received the flowers, Mare always smiled and said thank you. Yeah, there's no need to follow him, is there? New clothes will arrive this afternoon, Ancilla chimed in as if she waited for Signard to say so. No, I have to go with Sir Eugene, Mare firmly answered. I'm having so much fun wearing pretty clothes with Lady Ancilla, eating delicious food with Sir Gerhard, and strolling in the forest with Sir Signard. However, I exist to help Sir Eugene. Oh my, you are talking so maturely. I think Mother is mistaking something. She just looks like a kid, but she is a familiar hundreds of years old, Seal bitterly thought as she glanced at Ancilla. No, that was why Ancilla liked Mare even more. Ancilla genuinely thought so. Since she had raised Seal and her brother herself, she was well aware of how scary demons lived inside cute, lovely children. The warp gate is now connected. The wizard who took care of the gate notified them. The path to the Black Lion Castle was opened. Eugene shoved Mare's head back into the cloak. Go inside. It'll be a damn nuisance if you fall out from the cloak while we warp. Okay. Wait, Seal said as she approached. She grabbed the edge of Eugene's cloak and swept it back. I can't see the symbol if you wear the cloak like this. Seal poked Eugene's left chest where a lion symbol was embroidered. Only the main family members could have the symbol on their uniform. They are going to be waiting for us at the entrance. You should be proud and show it to them. Seal urged. It's not my first time. But it has been a while. Even so, aren't there only Garjeth and Desra? And Deacon? I don't even remember his face. There is one more. Seal sighed, pulling Eugene's arm. Yuad. I see your nasty temper never changes. Do you want to pressure Yuid by showing the lion symbol or something? It's up to Yuid on how to take it. Seal pouted. Yuid crossed the line. He stained the name of Lionheart. Eugene, you see, I can't understand how Yuid dares to participate in this hunt. Lady Tanis pressured, Eugene muttered. Yuid isn't a child anymore, is he? No matter how strict Lady Tanis is, Yuid also has a problem if he's still under her control. We are not the involved party, so we can't speak for them, Eugene grumbled as he wiped the lion symbol on his chest. Is Yuid already here? Yup. To be honest, it's a bit awkward for me to meet him. You may have also heard about it, but I beat the shit out of him 3 years ago. Yuid should be the one to feel awkward. That's why we need to go in confidently. So confident that Yuid won't even be able to hold his head up high. Seal scowled at Eugene as she started walking. I will go first, so follow me with confidence. What does she mean with confidence? Eugene dryly laughed, shaking his head. I didn't commit any crime. Yuid was the one who had committed a sin. Maybe the council head also did, Eugene thought as he smirked. Considering how the council head had gone through every kind of hardship the world had to offer, it was unlikely that he would get cold feet and be unable to make eye contact with Eugene. Wouldn't he rather ask me with a smile, was your trip fun? Eugene took a few steps forward and Doine's faded gold-colored eyes crossed his mind. Since he had no reason to bow his head, he puffed his chest out and straightened his posture. Thus Eugene walked forward. The usual feeling of being afloat overwhelmed Eugene when he stepped into the warp gate. Since he was warping to a faraway location, the feeling lasted for a long time. I wouldn't fall from the sky like last time, would, Eugene thought. He didn't. As he exited the warp gate, he found himself standing firm on the ground. Tap tap tap. Eugene took several steps forward and balanced his wobbling body. He lifted his head up and looked forward. He could see the Black Lion Castle, which he had last seen several months ago. The Black Lion Knights' flags were standing tall on every castle wall. Underneath the dozens of flags, a couple of people were waiting. Hey. Cyan stopped leaning against the railing and approached Eugene. He was smiling, feeling good to see Eugene. Organizing his hair that had gotten disheveled during warp, Eugene stared at Cyan. What are you staring at? Are you feeling great to see your brother again? It's only been a couple of months since we last saw each other, you know? Cyan excitedly asked. Well, we had shared drinks and finished the ritual to become adults before you left. So I also feel the same as you, brother. Cyan dramatically wriggled his upper lip as he spoke. Eugene also approached, frowning. Speak after you cross your heart. Do you really think your mustache looks good on you? I'm saying this as your brother. It doesn't suit you one bit. I get that you are excited since you've become an adult, but why would you fucking grow that shitty mustache? Isn't it cool though? It's the polar opposite of cool. Right now I am fighting with a strong urge to tear out every single strand of that ugly hair on your upper lip. Eugene held up his clenched fist right under Cyan's nose. Yeah. Anyway, you aren't the one to be blamed since you're stupid. If there is anyone to be blamed, it's you, Seal. Why would you let your stupid brother grow that bullshit mustache? I am also really surprised right now, you know? Seal shouted. She had arrived a few moments before Eugene and her fuse had clearly snapped already. Cyan didn't have that weird mustache a week ago. Then are you saying that his mustache grew in a week? That doesn't make any sense. You don't have that much body hair. I've put on hair growth solution, Cyan mumbled as he turned his head to the side. I can at least grow a mustache since I'm an adult. In some countries, adult men have the right to grow a beard. It looks ugly on you. He said it looks good on me. What kind of psycho said that mustache looks good on you? Where did you even get the hair growth solution in the first PLA? Thump. Hearing heavy footsteps, Eugene stopped talking and looked up. A big man revealed himself from behind a high spire. Why was he standing on top of the spire? Why was he wearing a sleeveless top, which revealed a large part of his chest and his armpits, when he was at the top of the cold, windy mountain? Any person with common sense would have asked these questions, but Eugene didn't bother. Common sense was altogether foreign to a guy who was willing to spend 300 million sal to buy a giant's testicle. It's me. Thud. Jumping down from the spire, a giant man landed upright on the ground, and as he did, Eugene was forced to look upward again. He was big. He had also been big 3 years ago, but now he was a head taller. He was almost as big as Evatar of the Zoran tribe. You've gotten bigger. It's all thanks to you, Eugene, Garjeth Lionheart smiled, and his healthy teeth were revealed below his voluminous mustache. It was hard to believe he was just 22 years old. Can you see? Wriggle. Every time Garjeth raised his arms, Eugene could see his pectoral muscles wiggling through the gap of his embarrassing sleeveless top. The giant's testicle that we bought together has made my body more beautiful. It's not beautiful. I see you haven't been slacking off with your training. You are wearing a cool uniform, but I can see how diligently you trained your body. Why don't you also wear that cool uniform, huh? And I would like you to put down your arms and not lift them anymore. Eugene didn't want to see Garjeth's armpits, openly revealed right before his eyes. Also, why did you give Cyan the hair growth solution? Eugene asked with difficulty. I saw Master Cyan looking at my beard enviously, Garjeth said, stroking his voluminous beard. All men idolize this kind of beard. Of course, this beard suits me because my body is beautiful. Cyan, I'm telling you before anything happens. I will kill you myself if you take any muscle enhancer from this bastard. Eugene spoke in a fast tone after turning his head to Cyan. Why? I think Garjeth's body is pretty cool. How is it cool? It's just gross. Seal looked as if she had seen a most hideous object. You were always like this, but you are too gullible. You fall for really weird stuff. If you bulk up and grow a beard like that pig, I won't think of you as my brother anymore. I'm not a pig, my lady, Garjeth spoke. Maybe because of his childhood memories, Garjeth was very respectful to Cyan and Seal. Eugene just looked forward, ignoring Garjeth, who was flaunting his muscle after quietly approaching Eugene. Is she Desra? Eugene asked, pointing at a tall woman leaning crookedly against the wall. Her skin was nicely tanned and looked healthy, and she had long, slender limbs. She still had the same characteristics that Eugene had seen 7 years ago. Garjeth nodded as he stroked his beard. She must be feeling shy, judging from how she is keeping her distance. I'm not here because I'm shy, you idiot. Desra screamed after hearing Garjeth's murmuring. I'm staying on guard against you guys. Can it be called being on guard when she actually said it out loud with her own mouth? Although she pretends that she's not, she is pretty stupid. And she has a wicked heart to boot. Cyan hadn't forgotten the time when he got humiliated in the bloodline continuation ceremony. At the time, Desra had tried to ambush Cyan by approaching him after pretending to be a ghost. Thanks to her, Cyan had ended up shrieking in front of his younger siblings. Are you still misunderstanding me, Master Cyan? What misunderstanding? It's true that you tried to ambush me. Are right. I am right. You said I was wrong at the time. How dare you lie to me? Cyan yelled, his mustache trembling. Eugene paid no attention to the stupid argument. Instead, he looked forward. Someone was standing on the rampart across from them. Eugene had never seen him. Bushy hair and a scraggly beard surrounding a face with droopy eyes. However, in spite of his overall easygoing looks, he clearly had a firm body. His posture was perfect, straight and sharp like a well-honed sword. So he is Hector. How did you know? Cyan asked surprisedly. He had stopped grilling Desra and turned back to Eugene. Have you met him? No, I only heard of him. I'm seeing him for the first time. If someone is that talented, I can recognize them instantly, Eugene answered. As he stood still, Eugene's gaze met Hector's. After a few moments, Hector grinned and waved his hand at Eugene. He is a famous one among the collateral descendants, Cyan grumbled. He has been training in Ruhr for over 10 years. He isn't even a citizen of Ruhr, but he still became an honorary White Fang Knight. The White Fang Knights are some of the best on the continent. An awesome relative, Eugene casually answered. You must be so happy because you don't have to worry about anything. Why are you whining all of a sudden? Haven't you already gained enough guts to grow that shitty mustache? Eugene smiled, slapping Cyan's back. Are you feeling pressured by the fact that you have to do better than Hector in the hunt? Nah, not really. Not really, my ass. There's so much pressure on you I can almost feel it myself. Why are you feeling pressured by Hector? Garjeth asked, unable to understand the situation. You must be mistaking something, Master Cyan. Hector is from the same Lionheart house as we are. Besides, this hunt is not about making the main house and the collateral descendants compete, is it? I somehow envy the fact that your brain is made of muscle. Cyan shook his head, chuckling. In some way, this hunt is a test for me, the next patriarch. In addition to that, there are collateral family members who are participating in the hunt. Although there are few of them, they still volunteered. I think we can say that they will be leading the next generation of collateral families. Really? I have to get some respect from the collateral descendants as the next patriarch. Let's say Hector does better than me. Then will the young collateral descendants like you or Desra respect me or Hector more? I will respect both of you, Gargith answered, wriggling his chest muscles. After blankly watching the bulging muscle wriggling for a moment, Cyan nodded with a bitter face. Yeah. Thank you. Cyan, Eugene spoke, looking around. Where is Ewit? I heard he has already arrived. When he mentioned Ewit, Cyan's face crumpled up more. Ewit arrived 3 days ago. He was summoned by the Council of Elders on the first day, and he's shut himself in his room ever since. Have you seen him? We even said hi. I didn't really want to say anything, but Ewit approached me first. Cyan stopped speaking and turned away, revealing clear hatred on his face. It wasn't just Cyan, Seal also did. Although they weren't as severe as Cyan and Seal, Desra and Gargith also looked sideways with uneasy faces. Wearing a big robe, a young man was approaching. He was Ewit Lionheart. His ash-colored hair was tied into a ponytail. Underneath his forelock, his gold-colored eyes reflected off sunlight. Long time no see. Ewit faintly smiled at Eugene. Eugene suddenly felt as if Ewit had changed a little. No, a lot. The Ewit that Eugene had seen in Aroth 3 years ago never smiled at him like that. At the time, a succubus had sucked so much of his life force that he looked as if he was ready to knock at death's door. The only smile of Ewit that Eugene remembered was the empty smile he showed while wandering in the succubus dream. He had never shown a single smile other than that one. He had just leaked tears from his eyes and blood from his nose. What the hell gives you the right to judge me? You have no idea. Ever since 4 years ago, everyone has been paying attention to you. Since you were adopted into the main family Fath, the patriarch has been raining down support on you, so how could you? Just because you're innately talented, it's impossible for me to compare to you. I never wanted to become the Lionheart clan's patriarch. I wanted to become a BL Black Wizard and go to Helmuth. In a place like that I'd be free, and my worth would be recognized. I never wanted to become the next patriarch, and I never asked to be born as the eldest son of the direct line. I want to be free to be able to do what I want to do. Ewit awkwardly smiled and scratched his cheek as Eugene stared at him. Have I acted too friendly? I'm sorry, you must be ashamed of me. I know you would be, but I really wanted to say hello to you. Ewit was flustered, unable to continue speaking. As his arm flew around, his robe was lifted for a moment. There was no Lionheart symbol on Ewit's left breast. Seal. Yes, long time no see to you too. I haven't met you since I left for Aroth. It has been 7 years since I last saw you. You grew up a lot. You changed a lot too, Seal answered, unstiffening her face a little bit. She had also seen how Ewit didn't have the Lionheart symbol that only the members of the main house were allowed to carry. Yes, I did change a lot. I had to. 7 years is a long time. Ewit cleared his throat and straightened up his posture. You've greeted me first, Eugene said. Actually, I should be the one who greets you first, big brother. I'm younger than you. It doesn't matter who's older when it comes to who greets first. Ewit shook his head. It's a relief to see you well. It's all thanks to you. Ewit beamed. It doesn't look like he is being sarcastic, Eugene thought without saying anything. As he kept staring at Ewit, the latter hurriedly added, I don't blame you for what happened in Aroth. I'm rather grateful to you, Eugene. Grateful? If you hadn't knocked some sense into me at the time, I would have still been trapped in pleasure-seeking at Aroth. Your punch, it really hurt, but it was a valuable lesson to me. Although he was stuttering, Ewit didn't let his shoulders slump. Thanks to you, I am working hard now. It's all thanks to you. 3 years ago, Ewit had only been at the 3rd circle. Technically, 3rd circle wasn't low. However, he had been personally trained by the Red Tower Master and other well-respected wizards. On top of that, he was the firstborn son of the Lionheart family. Such an achievement was far from enough. It seems that he hasn't been wasting his time. Ewit was at the 4th circle right now. He made progress, but no, my standard is too high. Eugene straightened his face and nodded. Thank you for putting it that way. Yes. I really wanted to say that. Ewit turned away, smiling. The wind is cold. I'll head in first. It's really exciting to meet my siblings. After a long time. You had walked away. He does have a conscience, Seal quietly spoke as she watched Yuad getting further away. If Yuad had embroidered the main family's symbol on his uniform, I would have said some pretty mean things to him. Wait. You didn't give him a heads up, did you, Cyan? Why would I do that? Cyan grumbled, stroking his mustache. I haven't seen him carry the symbol since he first came to the Black Lion Castle. He can take a hint. But you can't take a hint. What did I do? Go shave off your mustache. Eugene chuckled and slapped Cyan's back. Chapter 135. The Preparation for the Hunt 4. Who are you? Eugene asked. He was visiting the headquarters of the 2nd Division of the Black Lion Knights to meet Genos when he came across a woman he had never met before. Eugene had visited this place several times to find Genos, but he had never seen her around. I'm Genya Lionheart, she answered, flipping her braid over her shoulder. Then she squinted and bowed to Eugene slightly, very slightly. You must be Sir Genos' daughter. Yes. She looked at him with hostility. Did Genos say something to her? He wouldn't have told her that I'm his senior brother, Eugene thought. Eugene had repeatedly warned Genos to keep their relationship a secret before Eugene left the Black Lion Castle. Besides, Genos also wouldn't want to go around and talk about this relationship, especially not to his one and only daughter. Are you here to meet my father? Genya asked, staying vigilant. Yes, I am. Can I know why? I don't have any obligation to answer that question, do I? She squinted in dissatisfaction at Eugene's answer. After scowling at him for a moment, she nodded and took a step back. Sir Eugene, she spoke when Eugene walked past her. I will never lose to you. Pardon? Never. With these words, Genya walked away. As she got further away, Eugene could see her tightly clenched fists trembling in the white gloves. What the hell is she suddenly talking about? Eugene grumbled and went on his way. Genos' door was closed when he arrived. Eugene would have just gone in, but that was rude by any standard and there were too many eyes watching him anyway. Eugene had no plan to flaunt his seniority in public. Knock. Knock. Enter. Genos didn't bother to ask who the visitor was. Clearly he had already sensed who the visitor was. Long time no see. Seeing Eugene, Genos rose up from his seat. Eugene stopped him and closed the door first. What's wrong? Give me a moment, Eugene answered and lifted his cloak. Mare stuck her head out as if she had been waiting for him. Surprised, Genos stepped backward, causing his chair to flip. Who is that child? Go back inside. Eugene pushed Mare's head back. Then he raffled through the cloak and pulled out a... So this magic staff is... Without paying much attention to Genos, Eugene grabbed Akasha. He took a look around the room, eyes wide open. There are only simple security spells. An intruder alarm, conserving the wall's durability and maintaining cleanness. There are no surveillance spells, Eugene analyzed. Akasha made its owner understand magic. Even if the magic was invisible to the naked eye, Akasha's owner could see through it as long as a magic formula had been employed. Even if Eugene was unaware of the existence of a spell, he could still see through it while he was holding Akasha. Seems like you've been well. Lowering his guard, Eugene started the conversation. I expect my days have been better than yours, senior brother, Genos answered with a smile. Eugene was 7 years younger than Genya, Genos' daughter. So what did age matter? Although Eugene was so young that he could be called Genos' son, he was nevertheless Genos' savior, who had corrected the Hamel style which had deviated from its origin over the course of hundreds of years. Eugene had found Hamel's grave and inherited the techniques of Genos' family. As the head of the family that inherited the Hamel style, Genos had genuine respect for Hamel. I met your daughter on the way over here, junior brother. She was with me just now. She seems to be very hostile to me. You didn't talk about me to your daughter, right? His junior brother's daughter. The title sounded very awkward to Eugene, but it seemed wrong for Eugene to refer to her casually. From the start, this brotherly relationship was only between them. There was no reason for Genos' daughter, Genya, to get entangled in this relationship. I would never do such a thing. Genos shook his head, appalled. You were the one who told me that we have to keep our relationship secret. I haven't even told Master Cyan, although you told me that he has learned the same Hamel style as you. So, you are still using the Hamel style for the name? Of course I have never told Genya either. I don't even want to tell her for that matter. If my daughter is looking at you with hostility, then she must be just jealous of you, senior brother. Jealous? She is jealous because she has heard rumors about me favoring you, Sir Eugene. Eugene tilted his head in confusion, failing to understand his words. Genos continued. When you visited the Black Lion Castle a couple of months ago, we met several times and even sparred. Every knight in the Black Lion Castle knows about this. Of course they would know. Eugene reluctantly nodded. On top of that, you and I used the same Hamel style when we sparred. The term Hamel style always made Eugene cringe. He thought that he would never get used to the word even if he heard it dozens or hundreds of times. The Hamel style is only known to my family. You might be a member of the main family, but you aren't part of our family. In spite of that, you have used the Hamel style, which made my daughter feel jealous. She must have thought I became your disciple, huh? I said no, and I explained to her that I taught you a couple of Hamel style techniques because you have a great gift for it. If her temper is the way I just saw it, I think your daughter's fuse will snap if you say it like that, Eugene calmly answered. Genos nodded as he was in a tight spot. I will never lose to you, Sir Eugene. Your daughter surely has one hell of a competitive spirit. I'm not bragging, but my daughter's strength was even recognized in Shimuan, a place that is known to uphold chivalry. Since she isn't a citizen of Shimuan, she couldn't join the 12 finest, but, Genos excitedly spoke. Although he said that he wasn't bragging, that sounded like bragging about his daughter in anyone's ears. Eugene cleared his throat and sat on an empty chair. Anyway, I have something important to tell you. Is it about the things you experienced in Samar? Genos cautiously asked. Eugene nodded. He trusted Genos, but not enough to tell him the truth about the Elven Sanctuary and Sienna. He only believed in Genos as the senior brother who bonded with Genos over Hamel. That was why Eugene observed Genos carefully as he continued his story. So the council had tried to kill you, Sir Eugene? Eugene focused on the emotions visible on Genos' face. I don't have proof. However, there were not many people who knew about me and Auxiliary Bishop Christina going to Samar. Only 3 people, the Patriarch, you, and the council head, knew about it among the Lionheart clan. There is a chance that the information leaked from the Holy Empire side. However, I can't figure out if that's the case. That's why I sent Auxiliary Bishop Christina to see how things are there. You are not doubting me? Genos asked with a solemn face. What would you gain by selling me out, junior brother? What would the chief elder gain? Eugene had to be careful when answering Genos' questions. Genos didn't know that Great Vermouth's grave was empty, nor that Eugene had gotten approved by the Holy Sword. I don't know. There was no reason for Eugene to rack his brain right now. That's why I can only give you circumstantial evidence. I really don't know. Eugene shrugged. Genos didn't say anything. He just stared at Eugene. Since I doubt everyone, I can't trust anyone, can I? I can certainly trust the Patriarch, but he is at the palace right now. Therefore I can only trust you, my junior brother. That's my conclusion. I don't know what you think about this, but I believe my tie to my junior brother is stronger than my tie to the chief, since Sir Hamel was the one who brought me to you. The Black Lion Knights followed the orders of the Council of Elders. Among them, the council head was the immortal White Lion, an old monster who had been alive for over 100 years. He had reigned in the Black Lion Castle even before Genos was born. As the eldest of the Lionheart family, he deserved respect, even without taking his martial prowess into account. I don't want to believe your suspicion is correct, senior brother. The chief Genos knew was a living legend of the Lionhearts. But your suspicion is reasonable, Genos answered with difficulty. Since you said you don't doubt me, I will keep an eye on the chief's behavior in this hunt, senior brother. I don't really want to consider this possibility, but if the chief tries to assassinate you... Genos gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, unable to control his fury. As a descendant of the first Black Lion, the one that prosecuted people who didn't live up to the name of the Great Vermouth, I will bring the chief to justice myself. Genos respected Hamel because Genos was proud of his blood, the blood of the first Black Lion. Standing in front of Hamel's statue, Genos had shed tears. Although he had made up an excuse about whatever conjunctivitis, Genos' tears at the time were genuine and out of passion. And after he and Eugene were done sparring, he had shed tears once more. It wasn't because he was humiliated by the fact that his senior brother, who was so young that he could be called Genos' son, had a more complete form of the Hamel style. Not in the slightest. Genos had burst into tears out of respect for Hamel's true heir. That was why Eugene didn't doubt Genos. Senior brother. I know. Eugene nodded. He had already verified that the room wasn't bugged with surveillance spells. He had also cast a soundproofing spell to prevent anyone from eavesdropping. In any case, since they had already finished the conversation and Eugene had received an answer, there was no use for them to continue this dangerous discussion. Hearing a person's footsteps getting close to the room, Eugene put Akasha back inside his cloak. Knock knock. Sir Genos and Eugene. It's me, Dominic. Are you guys in there? Dominic Lionheart, captain of the 1st Division of Black Lion Knights and owner of the Annihilation Hammer Jiggalath. He also happened to be the grandson of Doynes Lionheart, the council head. Ah, you were in here indeed. Dominic cheerfully smiled and reached his hand out to Eugene as Eugene opened the door for him. I heard that you returned from Samar. Good to see you looking healthy. After lightly shaking each other's hands, Dominic winked at Genos. Did I interrupt your conversation? If I did, I apologize, but I had no other choice. The chief is raining hellfire upon me to bring Eugene over. Right now? Yes, right now. Is there any reason why you need to postpone? Dominic asked, tilting his head. He was asking a question, but he wasn't exactly waiting for an answer. That was just his typical way of speaking. He was leaning against the open door to prevent it from closing, so that Eugene could directly leave the room. He was clearly waiting for one thing, Eugene going with him that very moment. Let's go, Eugene answered, nodding. For a moment, Genos' eyes met Eugene's. However, he didn't offer to follow them. He also understood what an assassination was. Although it happened rarely, assassination was also one of the Black Lion Knights' duties. As the name suggested, an assassination happened secretly and in the dark, ending the target without letting anyone know who had ordered it. If Eugene died during the hunt, the one who had ordered his assassination could blame monsters or demonic beasts. However, this place was the Black Lion Castle. No monsters or demonic beasts roamed nearby. Assassinating people here was simply not possible. You seem to be getting along with Sir Genos. Dominic hummed while he led the way. But Sir Genos strongly denied it when I asked if you were his disciple. He is guiding me in many ways as my senior in martial arts. A senior. Guidance, huh? I don't think you need a lesson from Sir Genos, though. Dominic guffawed, looking back to Eugene. Of course, Sir Genos would have one if he put his heart into that sparring session. But you had an upper hand in that fight using your techniques. The sparring wasn't fair. I thought a martial arts master like you would have noticed, Sir Dominic. Eugene provokingly explained, but Dominic smiled as he nodded. Thank you for having a high opinion of me. Sir Dominic, you are the captain of the 1st Division of the Black Lion Knights. The division number has nothing to do with the captain's abilities. I didn't become captain of the 1st Division because I was better than Sir Genos and Lady Carmen. That said, I have to say that your fight was truly bizarre. You guys didn't use mana, and it was clearly a friendly match. The way Sir Genos used his techniques wasn't as fierce as it would be in an actual fight. He just performed them with sincerity, and according to the theory, Genos simply wanted to fight using the Hamel style. Even so, you used techniques that were far more complex than Sir Genos. You also know where his techniques come from, right? The techniques of Great Vermouth's friend, the stupid Hamel. And you are the very person who first discovered Sir Hamel's grave. What are you trying to say? I am talking about how Sir Hamel's techniques have been passed down to every generation for over 300 years. Isn't that cool? Do you think I am Sir Hamel's heir? If you want to deny it, I won't pry any further. But is there a reason for you to deny it? Inheriting Hamel's technique is not something to be embarrassed about. Didn't Sir Genos also recognize you? Dominic said as he turned to Eugene again. Eugene, you are trying to have too many secrets. Secrets? I don't know what happened to you in Samar, but I have a general idea. You went to find Lady Sienna, right? I really don't understand why you decided to handle such an important and dangerous matter only with Auxiliary Bishop Christina. If you had asked for it, the council head would have ordered the elite Black Lions to escort you. I believe a person should have a secret or two, Eugene calmly answered. Why? It's more fun that way. Unable to answer straight away, Dominic stared at Eugene, blinking. Haha. He burst into laughter. You're right. There's a subtle pleasure in keeping secrets, isn't it? Dominic stopped in front of the door to the round table room. But, Do not try to keep secrets in front of the chief. Without a single trace of a smile, Dominic turned back to Eugene. The chief thinks of secrets as treacherous threats, even if those secrets are just a boy's mischievous joke. You may already have felt this, but the chief has been on guard against you ever since he found out of your existence. I understand. Eugene quietly nodded. All the more reason not to keep secrets from the chief. Dominic warned Eugene once more as he opened the door. I will bear that in mind. It was not a warning to be ignored. Bowing slightly, Eugene walked through the door. Only the council head, Doynes Lionheart, was sitting at the round table. Seeing Eugene, he closed the book he was reading and put down the glasses on his nose. Long time no see. Doynes greeted Eugene, looking at him with a gentle smile. Did you have a good trip? It was quite fun. Don't play with secrets in front of the chief. He kept the warning in mind, but that didn't mean he was going to follow it. The trip was quite unique. If you are bored with your life in the Black Lion Castle, try going to Samar. You will never have a dull moment. It's a great suggestion, but I'm too old to wander around in such backwoods. Doynes chuckled, tapping on the table. Did you get what you wanted? Like what? This place is located in the middle of the mountain in the south of the Kiel Empire, but I have no problem getting the wind of rumors in the world. I know that you brought the elves to the Lion Hearts, and I know what you went through in Aroth. He was talking about Akka. Why didn't you come with Lady Sienna? She wished to stay, Eugene answered, smiling. She said she will come and find me when it is time. So the elven sanctuary was real. Doynes stood up. I have lived for a long time, but I must be a child compared to the elves. The sanctuary is a paradise for those elves, and there is even the world tree in its forest. I wish to see that place with my own eyes if possible. I'll guide you someday if you want me to, Eugene offered. I'll decline. Just like I said, I'm too old now. I'm okay with staying in this castle and forest, since they are like my home, but I'm afraid to leave my sweet home as old people do. My joints also ache. Doynes approached Eugene. He was the immortal White Lion, an old man who had lived for over 100 years. Although he said he was old, his gait was light. He stood in front of Eugene, looking so healthy that no one would believe his age. Did you encounter any danger on that fun, unique trip? No, I didn't. Eugene answered without a flinch. I fought with the natives several times, but that wasn't exactly dangerous. That's a relief to hear. Doynes grinned, patting Eugene's shoulder. Great work. I'm glad to see you're back safely. Thank you. Sorry to summon you like this. I had no other choice because I wanted to hear your story no matter what. If the patriarch was present, we would have been able to speak more amicably. Talking to a much younger man than me is too much for me. After tapping Eugene's shoulder a couple of times, Doynes stepped back. You are good to go. The hunt will begin in 2 days, so rest up. Are you also participating in the hunt, Chief? This is my home, Doynes answered with a gentle smile. As an elder, I have to guide the young ones so they don't go astray or fall into danger.